Greetings, African people. Today, I am going to use this time to answer a question from someone. Um, I don't know if it's a subscriber or someone who is just passing through. In all honesty, since I returned, my subscription has grown exponentially. And so I honestly don't know if it's a new subscriber. So that's no disrespect claiming that I don't know who you are, Corey Ward. But I promised you that I would take some time to answer you. And I didn't want to answer you the day when you reached out to me because as 2006 progress, I really don't want to spend all my energy fighting battles with individuals who will never know me or never understand me. But I have asked every person, as much as I have reached out to my African family, I invite other persons to take part in this conversation, and you have. So, your first conversation with me, you were talking about a video that you watched, and you said that I mentioned white 6 times in that video. But I was talking about holidays that we celebrate that really have nothing to do with our background as African people. So, this is all the things that I was talking about were European kinds of holiday that we have inherited and we have still participated in from way back then until now. You said red and yellow, black and white was a song that you wanted me to perhaps teach my kids, and that you hope that when you're in the Lord's kingdom, um, you will meet me there. Something to that effect. And I remember asking you in that first conversation, or maybe it's not the first, but one that I remember, is that judgment was one of those things that the slave masters told the enslaved people about so that they could control them. And we had a really good conversation then. Then you got back to me with this, and it's for this reason why I feel I must do this video. Hopefully, I can find that conversation here because I have it on my screen here. So you said, okay, you just wrote an entire essay on that one. And here we go. I want to know, what is your best quality? Why do you have a chip on your shoulder? Were you treated unfairly in your life? Why are you concerned with the welfare of dead slaves? You sound like my history teacher talking about slavery. Yes, my sixth great grandfather was a rich plantation owner in Georgetown, South Carolina. He did what he had to do. Cry me a river and get over it, lady. But what you don't seem to understand is the fact that the year is now 2016, not 1865. The year that Lincoln freed the slaves in the South. The Northern slaves would have to wait longer. You never even mentioned the Underground Railroad or Harriet Tubman. What about Frederick Douglass? The Negro invented the toilet seat, peanut butter, and many more things. You need to humble yourself and stop blaming my race for debts that have already been paid. And may the white Jesus bless you. There's a lot here, a lot to work with. And I'm going to try my best to answer. What is my best quality? I think I'm a very kind, loving, and compassionate person. On the exterior, if you don't know me, then you will be able to think all kinds of things because of the way I speak. And I tend not to be partial. I will go off on my black family as much as I will go off on the white family. I would love my black family as much as I would love a decent white person who I come in contact with, who have influenced me or my life in a positive way. As for those individuals within your community, your Caucasian community, because I think you're also the same person who said you're not white, you're Caucasian, and you're correct. I'm not black, I'm African, but you have no problems calling me black, so I don't have a problem calling you white. I'm not mad with you because at least you're coming to ask me questions. And even if you're being sarcastic, you're asking me what is my best quality. I am a kind, compassionate, loving person. Now you ask me, why do I have a chip on my shoulder? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If having a chip on my shoulder means that I will come out and speak about the inequality that exists between black and white in this world today, then that chip is going to remain. I'm not sure what chip you're talking about because the truth of the matter is, whenever black people are very conscious, when black people are strong-minded, when Black people have the courage to come out and speak on issues that concern them, these individuals are usually seen as the uppity Black Negro who needs to find their place and go back and sit in there. Like some of these very wealthy, rich Black people in America who have made the mistake of coming out and telling the world that they deserve more than just living on plantation. These individuals are often called all kinds of names and are accused of having a chip on their shoulder. Yes, I was treated unfair in life. When I came to this country, I saw every person on an even keel. Everybody was my friend. I loved everyone. And if I heard individuals saying negative things about a white person, I would be on the side of the white person saying, no, 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 everybody's not the same. And I still maintain that. I still believe, as I've mentioned before, that there were white people who assisted individuals in the Underground Railroad. See, Mr. Ward, you have watched one of my video. And so you pretend in watching this one video that I don't talk about these other issues, but I do. You also say that I sound like a history teacher talking about slavery. Well, thank you for the compliment. I guess my years of studying history have not gone in vain, and that I've demonstrated that. So I take it as a compliment because I do hold a history degree in African studies. To a certain extent, I know a little bit about my history, but guess what? If I'm angry about these things that I'm talking about, this history lesson that I keep teaching or speaking about, this history lesson was learned in white institutions. My university that I go to is a white university. All in fact, I had more than one university experience, but the one that I learned all these things was a predominantly, when I went there, the majority of the students were white, Chinese, and a few Indian people. I remember after being there for 2 years, when I saw more Black people getting accepted at that university that year, I actually went over and spoke to random strangers because I was so glad to see more people. And for many years, while this university existed, you walk along the walls and you see graduates, and you would see a classroom of hundreds of graduating class and only one or two Black person in there. So perhaps the reason why I am the way I am is based on my experience and based on the education that I learned in your white institution. Now, if people can put this information in the history books, if I am taught this thing in search for knowledge, I learn all these things. Nobody was ashamed or afraid to write this knowledge in the books. Why should I be afraid to repeat them? So here's where the hypocrisy comes in. It is okay for you to make movies about Black people and slavery, showing Black people getting whipped, abused by their colonial masters. You have no problem making these movies and watching these movies. But when I tell my story from my lens, you have an issue with it, Mr. Ward. You said that your family were plantation owners from South Carolina. Hence, you wouldn't understand my position because you are a direct ancestor from colonial masters, individuals who have taken Black people and have exploited them, have abused them, have raped, have killed. I have done some abominable things. And even to this day, 2016, as you ask me to move on, you're not moving on from the legacy of your ancestors. You are proud of it. You're proud of this, but you're asking me to be silent, that I shouldn't talk about what my ancestors went through in order for your ancestors to build their empires. You're asking me to forget because why? We're not people. We have no feelings. So, okay, why about you forget about First World War and Second World War, your veterans, those who died fighting for your country or your causes? Why don't you just forget about them? Why don't you forget about September 11 and all those people, innocent people that were murdered in the collapse of that tower? Why don't you forget that? Why don't you forget every time someone murder one of your own loved ones or one of your own people? You see, this is the thing, and the media has played a critical part in this because of the double standard and the hypocrisy that exists in the white community. You see, because we see it so much, sometimes it overshadows the good white people that exist in the world because we know that no people can be all bad, otherwise you're a racist. And no people can be all good, otherwise you are just being a hypocrite. And you, Mr. Ward, is the hypocrite and the kinds of white people that I talk about all the time. Now, I'm not trying to be mad with you because I want you to come forward, and I will not take down your thing, because this is what I try to tell black people all the time. It doesn't matter how nice a lot of black people, white people appear to be. If you rub them the wrong way, if you push the wrong button, what you're going to see is monster. As long as you're going to tell them what they want to hear, do what they demand for you to do, you will always keep your position, your little comfort, your little pension. But if you question anything, like what's happening with the Cosby case, and I am not saying that this man is completely innocent, but what I'm trying to say is, when you rub white people the wrong way, you're going to be punished. Even if they once said that they were friends and they have you up on a pedestal, they will rip you down, they will tear you down. Mr. Ward, I will never stop talking about the issues that matter to me and my community, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Slavery means a lot to me because of what happened to my people. And to a lesser extent, we might not have that whip and lash over our backs, but we are still enslaved as a people. Because when you look in our communities, some of the things that are happening to us is within our control to change. But there's a lot of systematic things that are there to keep us in our place. And so if somebody doesn't talk about it, it's not that when I talk about it, it's going to change or it's going to go away. I talk about it because it's real. And I talk about it because a lot of people in my community are afraid to say anything. They don't want to, lose the little they already have. I have got nothing to lose. And I'm not saying anything. I don't advocate violence or crime towards any people. I'm just talking about my experiences. And when you ask me, I'm hoping that you actually want to hear what I have to say. You mentioned Frederick Douglass, the Negro who invented the toilet seat and peanut butter. I'm not sure what you want me to say about Frederick Douglass, because I don't even like to talk about what black people have invented, because when I do that, what I'm actually doing is almost as if I'm justifying myself, justifying my blackness, trying to show people that I'm worthy, and I don't have to do that. This is why Black History Month, I acknowledge, but it's not something that I really celebrate, because nobody has a right to give me, as a person of color, a month to talk about my life and myself and my successes and my experiences. Because for the most part, in this country that I live, when Black history comes around, it's usually talking about slavery. It doesn't talk about emancipation and change. It just reminds the kids, the Black kids, that they're slaves. And it reminds the kids who come from ancestors who owned slaves that they're kings and queens. It doesn't do justice to the Black community. So a place like Jamaica, where I'm from, has no business to celebrate Black history, because it's a predominantly Black country, and it's Black history every day. But I understand that these are things that are fought for in North America. And so I don't want to judge it. If this is the 1 month that's given to them, I think it's time for them to move forward now and say it's not just Black history in February, it's Black history all year round. You say I need to humble myself, and I know how to be humble. Believe me, you're right. But it's the idea that you're telling me that I should be humble and that you expect me to follow your advice. That's the problem I'm having. Because let me tell you something. As a person who have come to this country with great dreams and stars in my eyes of thinking of changing my economic and social position in this world, I had to be humble. When I went to school, I worked 3 times as hard as my white counterparts, and I always had to fight for my marks. When people abused me and talked down to me, I would leave as a woman, an adult woman with children and husband and responsibility, and I had to wait till I leave through those doors and go home and cry because of the way I was treated. When I'm in the school system, I am treated as if my education didn't matter. And I always had to be subservient. I always had to be humble. I always had to respect other people who did not respect me. So in terms of humility, we all have to be humble. But when one group of people are always asked to be humble, always asked to submit themselves to other people who oppress them. I have a problem with that. I'm not asking you to be humble. Be all you want to be as powerful as you choose to be. But don't you dare tell me how I'm supposed to feel, when I'm supposed to feel a particular way, what I'm supposed to be interested in, what I'm supposed to support. That is not your prerogative. Now, you are a white man with a direct um, lineage to slave masters, and you have all right to defend your legacy. All right, Mr. Corey, all right to defend your legacy. It based on what you're saying to me, it is okay, and you like to keep things that way, and I can't interfere with your thoughts or your psychology. You can't tell me who I am supposed to be until you've walked in my shoes, until you stop making excuses for the reasons why Black people are the way they are without acknowledging their past and the systematic things that are in place that continues to oppress and depress us. Corey, I appreciate you coming here and making your thoughts known, but I also appreciate this more, that it is very obvious that a lot of white people can only be nice as long as you're willing to bow down and worship them. When you say things that rattle them and upset them and cause them to see the truth, they will hate you and therefore harm you. And this is what's happening to our community. I'm not going to address any more of these kinds of questioning because I find them upsetting. But I'm not angry that you came forward. I'm just saying, if you or any of your other friends have more things to say, you can say whatever you want to say. It's a free country. It is a free country. But at any time, and I've said this before, you stop memorizing and memorializing people who are important to you, then I will let go those dead slaves. Because for you, they're dead. But for me, they live on in my life and in my experiences. It's a very painful thing for me. And I'm not just angry with people who don't understand this. I'm angry with even my community members who are so willing to forget the sacrifices made by Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all these individuals who struggled and went to prison, Nelson Mandela, for the cause, for the freedom that they now enjoy. They're willing to just get up and just brush off their tail. They don't remember. But I am not going to forget. It's not the only thing that I want to use my channel to do. It's just to remember the pain and suffering. No, but it's one that I want to use as a catalyst for those individuals who have died. Their voices were silenced, but I am still here. As long as I'm living, I'm here to remind people of who we are and where we came from, and our power and our strength and our ability to recover in spite of that. And even though we suffered so much, we are most forgiving of other people. I've said this many times. And so, Mr. Corey Ward, you can't silence me except in death. And even after I die, you can't take the words out of my mouth that I already put there. Even when I die and I'm buried, and that is something that is possible when you stand up and you believe in yourself and your people, individuals will see you as an obstacle and they will remove you. But death is here for all of us. We all will die some way. And it's up to you how you choose to live and choose to die. Be blessed, everybody. Let Mr. Corey be an example of the individuals we have to face in this world, and the way a lot of white people would rather have us silenced. We have no business to show compassion towards our families, but whenever anything happens in their community, they want us to throw ashes on our heads, roll over on the ground and cry about it and telling them how wonderful they are and how much they have our support. But when we are talking about things that happen to us in our community, everybody want to silence you, kill you, or imprison you. Be blessed, everybody. Think on these things. This is difficult for me. So difficult for me that I'm shaking. Be blessed, everybody.